In 1959, Chevrolet introduced the El Camino, which is Spanish for the way. But 2 years before that, Ford introduced their Ranchero, which is Spanish for ranchero. Both Ford and Chevy, they were both late to the party because in 1950, Kaiser introduced their car-based pickup truck called the Vagabond. Sales of the 1959 Chevy El Camino were pretty good at 22,000 units, but the following year, 1960, sales plummeted down to 14,000, and Chevy said, no way, and they stopped production of the El Camino. It wasn't until 1964 that Chevy figured they had found the new way by introducing the El Camino on the mid-size Chevelle platform. Sales took off at 33,000 units, all the way till 1973 when they reached a peak of 65,000 El Caminos made. After that, sales vacillated on a downward slide all the way to 1987 where Chevy finally said, no way, and completely stopped production of the El Camino. This is a 1974 Chevy El Camino Conquista. And what you got with the Conquista is the cool two-tone paint treatment. It starts with the classic, and the Conquista adds the cool trim along the sides, and you get the two-tone treatment. In 1973, started the fourth generation El Camino. And you can see with the single headlights and this grille, which is, if you squint, it's somewhat reminiscent of what you would see on, say, a Mercedes. This is still built on the mid-size Chevelle platform, but there is nothing mid-size about this. Look how massive this thing is. 216 inches, almost 18 feet long. The door is 58.5 inches long, nearly 5 feet. That cool tonneau cover on the back is a dealer installed option. It looks like it's something maybe, I don't know, George Barris would have created back in the 50s. The El Camino is built on the station wagon platform, and Chevy didn't feel the need to create some special bumper just for the El Camino. So what they did, they took the station wagon bumper and just grafted it on. You can see it doesn't really fit. They added this filler panel to make it finished, but otherwise it just sticks out a good, I don't know, 3 inches from the body. And it's the same with the front bumper as well. You can see how far it sticks out from the body, how far it sticks out from the grille. But that's purposeful as well, because in 1974, some new bumper regulations came out that required all bumpers to have a 5-mile-per-hour crash worthiness rating. And that crash worthiness rating is meant to protect the lighting features of the car as well as prevent major damage from the front of the car in order to reduce some of the insurance costs. Chevy's answer to that was to create these big heavy steel front bumpers that look more like a battering ram that are attached to shock absorbers, and those shock absorbers are attached to the frame of the car. Inside the Conquista, you have what Chevy considered to be luxury for the time. On the doors, you have crank windows, you have vinyl door panels, remote mirror, manual door locks, of course. You have this kind of cool pattern going on here with like a leather grain and button stitching. You have plastic down here on the door panels as well. The seating is all vinyl, bench seat with the look of buckets with a fold down center armrest. And if you've never experienced vinyl seats on a hot summer day, well, you've really missed out on something. In the back, there's a little lever right here. You flip that lever up. It allows the seat to fold forward, gives you access. These seats were actually used in coupe models, and it obviously allowed the back seat passengers to climb in. On the dash, we have simplicity at its best. You get one gauge, you get a fuel gauge. Other than that, you get idiot lights for monitoring the different functions of the engine. You get a speedometer. A clock is optional. There's your heating and cooling. There's no air conditioning, and because of that, underneath the fuel gauge is simply a pocket. Wipers, headlights. Down below, you have 2 foot vents, a center vent and a left vent. You have an aftermarket stereo. You have your heating and ventilation. Of course, you need an ashtray, your typical glove box. Oh my goodness. Under the hood, holy cow, that thing is huge and heavy. In 1974, you had 4 different engine options, 3 different transmissions to choose from. This is the second of 4 engine options. This is a 350 with a 4-barrel. The 4-barrel was a quadrajet with something like 750 CFM. The engine made, I don't know, 175 horsepower or so. There was a 2-barrel version, there was a 400 V8, and there was a 454 as well. For transmissions, this is a 3-speed automatic called a turbo hydro. There was also a 3-speed manual, and there was a 4-speed manual as well. Tons of space in front of the radiator. There's tons of space between the engine and the fan. You can easily see the ground between the exhaust manifold and the fender liners. This engine is dwarfed by the sheer size of the engine bay. This tonneau cover is so cool. It had this crazy handle that you twist and spin, you lift up. It has struts that hold it up. Oops, a little floppy. And then you get full access to the bed. My wife has a lot of patience, right? But all the cars I have, I know chips away at that level of patience she has. This car is not mine. This is my buddy Neil. He bought this 2 weeks ago at Carlisle when they resumed their spring show in June, no less.
I was at the Spring Carlisle this year, and I was looking for a daily driver that wasn't too awful expensive. And I was looking at an 86 model El Camino, and they wanted too much money for the condition that the car was in. And this one happened to come along, and I decided on this one here. And it's a fun car, good looking car. It's got a lot of appeal. There's a number of things I want to do to this car to make it look more stock. The first thing is the wheels. I want to get rid of the rally wheels and put the standard 1-inch white walls and the standard hubcaps on the car. The engine compartment here doesn't look right. It doesn't have the stock air cleaner on it, so I'll be looking for a stock air cleaner to put on the car, and then do a little bit more cleanup and detailing under the hood. The third item of appeal here is the radio. It may look stock and such, but I want the stock AM/FM radio to replace this one, although this one works fine. The final item concern my part is this handle on the factory bed cover. I want to change that to what it's supposed to look like. I have no idea, so I'm going to do some research, and then I'll come up with what it needs to be done to make it look stock.
This thing is super clean, super nice. Neil spent under $5,000 picking this up at Carlisle. Has under 34,000 miles. I think it's original miles. It's been repainted once, but it still looks fantastic. It's just a great buy. And those things that Neil wants to do, pretty minor, pretty small overall, right? Why don't we go for a drive and we'll learn more about the car.
I was very apprehensive about buying a daily car that's an old car like this, but I'm pleasantly surprised on how this thing handles compared to the new cars today. This thing is tight. It starts on a whim. The gear shift is nice and smooth. The transmission is smooth. It's got good braking to it. I'm very surprised. I'm very happy with the car. I'm glad I made the purchase. All around, I just enjoyed with myself the fact that I was able to get something like this, for the price I paid. And knowing that it's an old car, it still garners a lot of attention from people. I get a lot of thumbs up as I'm driving the car. My intention was just to maybe have this car for maybe 5, 6, 7 months, then move on to something else. But this kind of situation kind of lends itself to my owning this thing for maybe a year or two. Back in the day, Chevrolet was offering a lot of comfort for the money, and I find that this car holds true to that fact today. Although the fact the car's got 35,000 original miles, I'm very happy with the fact that this thing runs as smooth as it does compared to even my new car.
Neil got a super cool find at a super great price, and he got this great driving car, which is an awesome entry into old car ownership without spending a lot of money, with low commitment, with something you can drive and enjoy and repair and fix and get parts for it pretty easily. That was super cool of Neil to share that with us. It was a lot of fun to be out there in the car.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next video.
The party, because in 1950, Kaiser, they had the units, but the following year, I got this. All right, I got it. It wasn't until 4 years later, all the way to the peak in 1973, we're about 75. Before that, Ford didn't. Now I'm messing it all up. We're pretty good at oh my God, I knew her and that distracted. Wait, don't hit people. It's all the way to 1973, where it meet a peak. Oh my goodness. Which is Spanish for the way. It wasn't.